Hey y'all, it's your girl Y Renee. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Talking kind of low, so I hope you all can hear me. So it's time for Let's Talk All Things Divorce, and I'm so excited about this evening. So my guest is logging in, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna bring her on in a minute. I'm gonna introduce you to her. We've known each other for a while, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. Look, she already requested, so I'm gonna go ahead and let her come on. Like I said, I'm talking kind of low because I should have not scheduled anything this weekend, but of course I was trying to stay. Look at her. Look at
You
her.
could have waited.
No, I could have waited.
You could
Uh,
have.
hey, Sarah, welcome to the live. I'm sitting up here saying that I'm talking kind of low, so I hope you all can hear me. I have a retreat that I'm speaking at this weekend. So, of course, I didn't think not to schedule anything because I was so excited about this topic and so excited to do the things that I want to do. That I just went ahead and scheduled people anyway, knowing I'm supposed to be here. So, thank goodness they haven't started yet. So, I got time to conversate with my good friend. So, hey y'all, so this is my good girlfriend, Miss Sheila King. And look that part, period. So
Period.
Sheila and I have known each other for probably about, oh my God, 20 some years now. And you know, up, downs, in betweens, we've been a part of each other's lives as far as trials, tribulations, good days, bad days, the happy times, the sad times, the trying times, the yeah, all them times we done did it and did everything, and I'm just really excited. So of course, again, you all, as I start these conversations, we let's see if my water bottle gonna hold this up. Oh, look at that. I can sit back a little bit. My water bottle.
Well, praise
Uh,
the Lord.
praise him. Okay. Yeah, y'all forgive me if y'all hear the noise in the background because I'm at a location. So, anywho, Sheila and I have like I said, known each other for years, but starting this conversation off, I was having a conversation, and the question is, Miss Sheila King, and then I'm gonna let you tell who you are, introduce yourself, and then give some good old nuggets. So, if you were, and we had this conversation separately, so I know what you're gonna say already, but let the good people know how you feel. So, when you out here filling out these good applications, whether it be for renting a home or whether it be for applying for some type of assistance and doctor's appointments and job application. Well, job application don't really do it, but like applying for apartments and housing and different things. They have this little section on there where it says your marital status. So, are you single? Are you divorced? Are you married? Are you separated? Are you widowed? Do you check box? Do you leave it? Do you leave it blank? Do you write your own box and say, "Man, your business," because that's my business. What do you?
Mind the business that pay you. That's what we act. Mind the business that pay you. That's where we go.
That's right. So
No. But for me, they don't always have the divorce option. So if the divorce option is not available, I'm single. But as long as there's a divorce option, I'm divorced.
really, I promise you, every time I get something, it always says it's like it's sitting there, like it's calling my name, like "Broad, you divorced, Broad, you divorced, bling, 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 divorce." So, okay. So before we really get into this conversation, good, I'm trying to keep my whole head in this little picture right here. So before we get into the conversation, real good, Miss King, would you please tell the people who you are, and we'll tell them what you do at the end, so you can promote your business and your brand and all that other good stuff.
Okay, so my name is Sheila Marie King now. Um, Listen, period. King, comma, Sheila. So I am the owner of Execute with SMA, which is an administrative operational excellence business, as well as the CEO of Eliminating Excuses, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people to get out of their own way.
Awesome, amazing. So I got my other phone here because I am an Android lover. Shut your face, Sheila.
I
And
ain't I ain't
you
said nothing.
thinking it. That's all that matters. You was thinking it. That's the whole problem right there. You was thinking it. So let me. I'm trying to get to the actual because I know pretty much questions. And usually when I go on the questions, we go off on a whole nother tangent anyway. But I'm
Correct.
I'm gonna try to keep the basic questions together. So, first of all, I already know the answer to majority of these questions, but just for the sake of the people and the people who don't know you, let's just talk about it. So, how many times have you been married?
Twice.
Been married twice. Okay, so we gonna let you pick and choose which one you want to talk about when we talk about the hardships of this stuff, But in your last marriage, or better yet, so you've been married twice.
Divorced twice.
You're divorced. Thank you very much. That was the next question. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
how long was your first marriage?
Um, 8 years.
8 years. Okay, so you divorced, and how long before you married your second husband?
1 year.
And then how long was that marriage?
On paper, 9 years.
And how long have you now been divorced?
Um, a year and 8 months, 7 months.
Okay, look at you. Pop them numbers out,
Listen,
girlfriend.
I'm
Look
trying to remember, child. His squirrel here and there. Like it's no longer apart, so I it takes a little longer to remember. Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. So, you look like me, and when I say you look like me, you don't look like what you've been through at all. And
Well, praise the Lord.
to have such a smile, to have a joy, and understand that some of the things we both been through have been very difficult. But to be on this side of the court, to be able to have a conversation means that even though you may not be completely healed in some areas, you're healed enough to discuss it because you know the information that you have will help other people, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So let's talk about it. You can focus on whichever one you want. So we know you've been divorced. You were divorced a year between the first one, and now you've been divorced a little bit, almost not quite 2 years yet.
Yes.
When you went through these processes, at any time through the process, well, first of all, let me ask you this: did you have support through your process?
Yes. Both times.
Both times, you had good support, like, because how important is support when you're going through something like this?
Um, First of all, the right support is very important. Um, I so with both marriages, I've always been an advocate of standing for my marriage for restoration, and so in doing so, I had people who were all the way. If you want to stay in this marriage, I'm with you. If you're ready to walk away, I'm with you. So I'm grateful for the support that I had either way. So they knew that I was strong enough to be able to make a decision that best fit me and my family, but also was there to be able to encourage me if I chose to walk away.
Awesome. So I did not say this before, but everybody should know by now. It's just been it's kind of gone that way with all these conversations. Every guest that I've had on have been people of faith, people who basically have said that God was there before, after, and during, regardless if we saw His hand or not, or whatever we chose to ignore. So I know because of who you are to me, you are a woman of great faith. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, because of some of the stuff that you've been through, you had to be a woman of faith in order
That
to
part.
survive what you've been through. So
That
um, we say and assume that the support that you had, um, most of the support, and I'm quite sure you probably got some people that may not know Jesus like we want to know Jesus, but I would assume that most of the support you got was that of wise Christian or faith-based counseling.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely had to.
So let's go back to the beginning of, let's go back to the first marriage.
Okay.
First marriage, how young were you when you decided to be this old daunting bride of being all beautiful and just all about this married life?
Okay. So first, neither marriage I had a wedding. So let's start there. Um, but with this first marriage, I was, wait a minute, I had the oldest at 20. So 21?
Okay, so you were 21 when you got married. So and
Yes,
I know your first ex-husband
correct.
was in church and ministry with you. So did you all receive counseling before you said I do?
Absolutely. There's no other way to do it.
So did you have counsel? Because we had a good conversation. I don't know if you had a chance, and if you did, you got to go back and watch it. The good right minister Delvin Barber was on, and he opened up some stuff for me that is now been like a part of my conversations because it was just
Okay.
that good. He was somebody who said that he got counseled because I had a conversation with Chris and Monique, because I'm not gonna say what they titled out because we trying to be better. But anyway, had a conversation with Chris and Monique. And what they were saying is, and I totally agree with them after having the conversation, is that, when you're contemplating marriage, you should start the counseling before you even get the engagement ring. And then, of course, continue counseling until the marriage day. But then Delvin added on another piece and said you should at least continue counseling 6 months to a year after you even say.
Facts.
So, how much counseling did you receive? You laugh.
It's it was a the first marriage was, do you love him? Yes. Do you love her? Yes. You got a place to stay? Yes. Okay. God, we thank you for this opportunity to. It was like, okay,
Oh, so
all
funny.
right. I, Now I'm sure there was a few more things thrown in there, but that was pretty much the gist of it. The second one was a little more, um, maybe 2 or 3 sessions, maybe, but don't hold that to me because I don't really, again, it's a squirrel situation. Once it's done, it's done. But yeah,
So hindsight is 2020, and I already feel like I know your answer. But for the sake of having and talking to the people, um, would you agree or would you say that you definitely needed more counseling for both marriages?
absolutely. A-
Okay.
Absolutely. But I think the biggest part though for me, because I was brought up, so I was brought up in the church, Church of God in Christ, born and raised. You can't join it. You got to be born in it. I was literally born going to the church. So it was easier for me, and it is easier for me in all my relationships to be able to well, not look over, but to address and move on, right? Um, I didn't marry men.
See, here we go again.
See, the
Uh,
devil.
I promise you, this happened last night. I lost 3 videos, 2 videos last night.
Okay.
This was
So, well, because they weren't accountable to strong men, integral men, things like that. Um, the things that could have happened in our marriage didn't. And so I found myself being the only one that was fighting for it or standing for it. So yeah, I think more counseling would have been beneficial, but I also think that marrying men who were willing to be counseled is even better.
okay, amazing. So, thank you for joining us. Everybody who's joining, I forget to do this because the conversation be getting so good. Let me go back and thank the people for joining us, both live and replay. You all are amazing, and I thank you all so much. So here we go. You agree that counseling would have been more counseling would have been useful, even though you did not get what you wanted or get what you probably necessarily needed at the time.
Mhm.
So, um, when we talk about counseling. So I go back to Delvin because I said he gave so many good nuggets. I promise you they're like embedded in here. So it's good to hold the conversation about it. So, we think about and this is just a question about how do you feel about this. So when we talk about your vows, I know there was a season, we know old vows or still the vows of today are better for
Mhm.
work, rich for poor, rich sickness and health, yada, 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 to death do us part. So, it was this time when everybody was speaking all these positive affirmations and they were like, oh, when I get married, my marriage ain't gonna fail. It's for better, for better. It ain't no worse than my marriage. It's for health and health. Ain't gonna be no sickness. I decree and declare this, that, and the other,
Speak
right? So
it, daughter. Speak it.
and you're supposed to speak it. Don't get me wrong. However, let's just be realistic to a certain extent. When those oppositions come up in your marriage, if you have that mindset of, nothing's going to happen, how much are you setting yourself up for failure? And I say that when I want you to elaborate on it, because I also feel like, just like with that, with people being positive, even though you don't want to set yourself up for failure, I also know that if you speak divorce before you get married, like, okay, so if this happens, we're going to get divorced, you crack the door to allow the enemy or whatever you believe in to at some point in time kick that door wide open. And instead of being able to be counseled, instead of wanting to come up with a resolution, instead of wanting to fix it, your first answer is, I quit, I'm done, let's just get a divorce. And we both know, me included, marriage is 28/9 385 days a year, period. Um and so when I tell you, or when I say that to you, how do you feel about marriage vows, and how do you feel about the actual word divorce when it comes to beginning a marriage?
Um, my second marriage, we said divorce was not an option. That was our confession. Um, Yet here we are. Um, I think that people should be mindful. That's where the counseling comes in, the pre-dating counsel. That was one of the things that Prophet Yolanda had spoke about, the pre-dating counsel. Like before you even decide to commit to this person, having that counsel. I think a lot of times the foundation is not good. So that's, or people's background. So some people, they have this background where they don't have the example of a true marriage, a good marriage, a sustained marriage, one where they're actually happy and not just staying married just for the sake of being married. So because of that and the world we live in now, there's always an out. And so I think people go into it, a lot of people go into it thinking, hey, if he don't do this, if she don't do that, then I always have an out. And then we take away the ability to actually do the work that's necessary in order to maintain that marriage. So I honestly think that if people were intentional about the vows, yeah, for better or for worse, that the purpose of that is not to create um, a confession around negativity in your marriage before it starts, but to be intentional about your commitment and the decision to continue in despite those things that may occur, because it's gonna happen.
I know that's right. Because, when you think about it, and again, a good point was brought up, especially people that marry young. So you got married at 21.
Hmm.
And think back now, let's just say, and it's hypothetical because, it's already done, water under the bridge per se. But however, did you think about how you would react or even how your spouse would react? Let's just say at 25, 26, y'all have been married 5, 6 years in, and one of y'all got like a sickness or a disease or a situation, whether it be, because I think that anything that without a physical ailment is, you could bring different diseases into
Absolutely.
relationships. So let's just say you had a physical ailment, and I don't, not cancer or anything like that, but let's just say lupus, fibromyalgia, and it's causing you not to be able to work, or it causes you to sometimes have those days where your spouse has to literally like wash your tail and all this other stuff. How do you really deal with that? Because somebody that's young, we think about, I think we're naive and we
Absolutely.
think childlike because we think that something like that can't happen to us. You think that
Well,
somebody
we
can't,
not that early.
right, at least not until your 40s or your 50s or your 60s. So you think you got all this time. So how would you, I know, because I know your character, I believe that you would have handled it without flaw. You know what I'm saying? But I could be wrong because I don't really know the young Sheila. I know the middle Sheila. So, but I'm just saying, so how it being, do you think that your ex would have, if you think he would have walked out? Do you think he would have actually took care of you? Do you think that would have been an issue to cause divorce? You
Well, we
know,
already had children.
Mhm.
We already had at least one, and I had a child every 2 years for four times around,
He
right?
was busy. He was busy.
Just a little bit. And so I don't think that, and his mom was still around, like it, so I don't think that there would have been a walking away from me.
Mhm.
I do believe that the same Sheila you see now is the same one as it relates to marriage. That would have been me as well. I would have stuck with them, figured out how to do it, found a safe space outside of home for a release if I needed one. Hey, Monty. But yeah, I don't think that for any reason that either one of us would have walked away had there been an illness that kept us,
Okay,
that
so
plagued us. Yeah.
I mean, when I let you like break free after I get through with these little questions, and you could talk and feel how you want to say, after I get through with these good hit questions, you just want to run your mouth. I just got a question. So, how did you deal with conflict? Because conflict, when people don't know, because I think my statement has been for the last few years, we're ever evolving people. I'm not the same
Hmm.
person I was when I woke up this morning. Some things throughout the day
Correct.
have transpired that makes me different. I'm definitely not the same person I was 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes before I walked in the door of this building. We're ever evolving. So when we think about the honeymoon phase, we think about the person that we're meeting. We don't, I think that sometimes some people don't give room for us to truly be human beings. So when conflict comes, I believe that people have a problem dealing with conflict, because, well, of course, when we're dating and we're courting, we're showing us the best person possible. You may have a little tit for tat every now and again, but y'all kiss and make up or whatever, make it seem good for whatever reason. However, when real conflict comes, how do you deal with that? What if what during those times that your husband for whatever reason told you no? Were you okay with the no? Did you right? Well, that's a good one, ain't it?
So that
Okay,
is a good one. So
you might.
I was very manipulative.
Oh wow!
Um,
Look at
yeah,
you. Go ahead, be transparent.
no, like seriously. If it was something, so a lot of people see my personality and think that I was this strong-willed person that always just bulldozed my husband and he couldn't be a man and all of that. That was not the case. But I know there were times where if I wanted something and I was told no, I know how to get it if it was really something I wanted. Like I wouldn't necessarily for anything, but if it was something I really wanted and all I had to do was just push a little more or slide something this way and that's all I got to do, listen, let's go for it. Okay. So conflict with me though, even in the marriages, I so it was always never arguing from the children. I never um it's not that they were ignorant of anything that ever happened as far as tension in the home, because that energy can be felt regardless, but um we never argued in front of the children. um but when we got in behind closed doors, we had conversation. Uh-huh.
Tanya, Tanya, you could. Oh, she doing it. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I told you I'm
So
gonna let
we
Melody.
no, you fine, sis. So we had conversations. I'm an advocate. I'm avid believer in communication. Like what is going on? What is your issue? Here's my issue. Do what you will with the information, but you'll never be able to say you didn't know. So that's how I handled it.
See, sis, you talking, because that's the stuff I've been talking about last week. A lot of people fail to communicate, and people don't realize that communication is the biggest thing. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like what I'm saying, but you need to understand where I'm at, what I'm feeling, and whether you like what I'm feeling or not. Acknowledge my feelings. We could agree to disagree, but you're going to respect me in the process. And that's the whole thing, that people lose respect when we talk about conflict, when we talk about things we don't like, whatever. Hey, so that's really a good point. I'm so glad you had mentioned communication piece before I did. So I know, because like I said, I know you personally. So I'm letting you answer this as I ask it, but I know, because my question would be, did you do all you could to save your marriages? But I already know the answer to that. So my thing is, for the people, could you explain some of the things that you did in order to try to keep your marriages together before you had to make the decision, or before they even made the decision to say, you know what, I don't want to do this no more, and I ain't gonna do it.
So the first marriage, I believe I did. I was extremely patient. Went through a lot of things. Uh, Mainly to include infidelity. And so I was very patient. It was, if you apologize, if you show me signs that you were doing what you say you were going to do to make it right, I did it.
Mika so funny. Hello. And
but for me, I
hello, Dave.
the first marriage was basically, it ended like this. 3 weeks straight, I would go to him on a Sunday. Hey, he asked for divorce. Because again, didn't matter how many times I was cheated on, I'm standing for my marriage. Listen, we don't do divorces. We're gonna work through it.
We're gonna talk about it. You gonna stop doing what you're doing, and we're gonna get some help, and we're gonna pray our way through this. Come on.
What you need from me, I got you. Here's what I need from you.
Because you are sanctified by me. Somebody need to understand the word. And so I'm trying to
Listen,
work this thing through. Go ahead.
listen. I don't want you to lose your favor. That I just want, you know.
Because I am,
But
but come on
that
now.
part. So, but three times, the third week, he asked me. He said, "I don't know why you keep asking me when I told you I don't want you." And
Mm.
in that moment, I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And I packed up the children and we left. The second one, it was a whole stupid situation. There was no. I was standing for he moved out, and for 3 years I stood for reconciliation of our marriage until some other stuff came out to where it was like, oh no, Ninja, we're gonna go ahead and let you be free. and we handled that. But each time it was a matter of me
See,
saying,
for
go
cutting you
ahead.
out. But in separation, even in separation, you stood.
I did. There was no, I had plenty of opportunity, plenty of opportunity to break covenant because he was. But that was my, he benefited from my commitment to God and my commitment to my vows. And until I was no longer legally connected to him, I didn't feel comfortable stepping outside of my marriage.
Mm.
And I believe that God honored me because of that. And I am in the position I'm in now because of that, because I continue to do. But yeah, he left the house. When, if is this a okay?
Be
Can I be
Sheila.
free? Okay.
Be
So
free. Be,
listen, if I wanted some, okay, I got okay. There you go.
no, that's
If
true. You gonna help some people today. Come on
if
down here.
if I wanted some, I got some from my husband. Because what I'm not going to do is waste a repenting because I didn't went and stepped out and decided to sleep with some fool that probably want a relationship that I ain't trying to have. Um,
Still in
but
covenant.
huh?
My husband. I
That
said because you still in covenant with your husband because he your
that
husband,
part,
whether he in the house or not. If
that
even though
part,
he's not still my husband, he belongs to
and
me.
the other part is, I always prayed God, if it wasn't for me to do it with him, if it would cause me any kind of harm, whether it was spiritual, emotional, whatever, God shut it down, hold me up, keep me tight until I can. But but I never stepped out on my marriages because I feared God. I feared the I didn't it was marriage is really important to me, sacred to me. And so yeah. So I still did what I was supposed to do, what I thought I was supposed to do until I could no longer do it anymore.
Mm, that's good. I wish I could say the same. You know, part of my testimony in my book, I told people I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you say you what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I goose my gander. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'm just telling, hey, this, like I said, you could be real. I'm just being transparent. It's true. It happens. Men
Absolutely.
are not the only ones who fall to infidelity. However, sometimes when a woman does it, I'm not saying it's always right. I never condone it. I'm not giving props to it. However,
Mm-hmm.
a woman cheats, it's more so emotional than it is.
Absolutely.
And there's something that has been disconnected for it to happen. And
Absolutely.
mine, since we're talking about it, mine honestly came in because I kept saying, you don't want to be here. Since you don't want to be here, why don't we just separate? I'm gonna let you handle that. Why don't you file for divorce? Because it's not you that don't want to be. It's not me who don't want to be here. It's you. So if you don't want to be here, by all means, go ahead and
Go
go.
on. Mm-hmm.
Still gonna have X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, Q, R, and some other over here this way. Go on and be with all of them. Leave me be. But since you adamant about saying you not okay, then we not together no more. We just here literally by a piece of paper. There to
Wow.
me, broken covenant. There is no covenant, and that was the biggest thing for me. And I thank God for grace and mercy because I lost myself during that time, but I didn't care anymore. And
Mm.
just like you don't care, I don't care. And I need to show you and tell you that I could probably do it better than you because I'm slicker than you. And as somebody used to always tell me, you think you slicking me with your slickery and tricking me with your trickery, but I'm the slickster and the trickster. And I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. Because what I will say is, as many times that, any men who are listening, I'm not trying to say anything, but anything you think that you can get away with, 9 times out of 10, you not. And 13 out of 13 times, the woman's going to do it far better than you can. And I just need y'all to understand and realize that. Especially if you're married, because God is not going to allow, even if you're not necessarily in covenant with God, because God honors marriage.
Absolutely.
God, it's his institution, whether you believe in God or not. That whole gut instinct, intuition that we have as women, it's not by happenstance. Y'all think that we be snooping just trying to find stuff out. 9 times out of 10, no. 10 times out of 10, it falls in our laps. And then when it falls in our lap, We ask and give you opportunity to come clean. You all decide to lie because you think you saving our feelings. You think you doing something better. So you lie. Our antennas are still up. The hairs on our arms are still up. We don't believe nothing you saying. So then we have to continue to get details, or what's the word I'm looking for? Proof to show
Evidence.
you. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Evidence. I need now this evidence. Here, did this what you said you wasn't doing. Here, dude, this what you was doing. All right, here. This is what I need. And so for me, again, even though I did what I did, I thank God that He kept me, and I didn't. I mean, mind you, I didn't get caught per se. I didn't come home one particular night. He asked me where I was, and I told on myself. And in part, telling on myself because I did not care anymore. And that's when you have to be very careful when you're dealing with a narcissist and you're dealing with an abuser. When you don't care anymore, you setting yourself up to have some crazy stuff happen to you. And that was the night that he beat me to where my face was disformed. I looked like the elephant woman, and he played Russian roulette with my head. That's all in my book. If y'all don't have my book, you need to look it up on Amazon. Shameless plug. So with all that being said, you have to be careful, but people have to understand when you reach a breaking point, sometimes, thank God you didn't reach your breaking point. But for me, my breaking point was like, dude, you don't want to, I'm asking you, look, I'll go make the paperwork because you don't want to be here. I'll make the
See,
paperwork. I'll put it out. And he didn't want to do that.
so the difference with the main motivation for me was not me. Outside of my covenant that I made, it was the fact that I had for the first marriage 4 daughters, and then after the second one 5.
Mm.
And so I'm a big advocate of not raising children that have an adulthood they have to recover from because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And so in that moment, it became more, in each moment, it became more about how can I end this where my children will be the best version of themselves in the process. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but my children were my main motivation, especially considering they're girls. And how I do things, how I handle life, every relationship, all relationships, they see that. And so even though they may not have seen a man come up in this house, them seeing there's a different kind of energy that you bring when you're dealing with other spirits, other people, other men, other women, whatever I would have gotten myself into. And I knew, and I was fertile. The last thing I needed was to retch out and involve myself with a man and come back pregnant. And he like, well, they ain't mine. I can't, cause that. Listen, that's one of them things where girl, they'll start getting educated on these apps and stuff. Like the last time we had sex was this day and this time. Like you ain't
Oh,
ever,
ain't touched their life
ain't
my whole life.
ever. So yeah, so my motivation was more so my daughters. Outside of my actual, I was hell bent on my covenant. So.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you mentioned the children because the last couple people that I've had on have had children. We started talking about the children aspect last night. Your girls are beautiful. I love all of their
Thank you.
spirits. And I think, and if I've never said to you before, which I'm quite sure I have, I think that you've done an excellent job in all the adversity you've been through in raising 5 beautiful girls. But I know in everything that you've been through, it had to be difficult,
Oh yeah,
especially they're trying to keep them away from it, and the negative vibe of divorce and everything, because it not only affect, and this is where I think people go wrong. And I don't have any children. I have bonus children or people who gravitate me because I have a
hmm
mother spirit. However, thank God because of my situation I didn't have any kids, but if I would have, I might have stayed, might not have stayed, who knows. But just thinking about the fact of being in the situation I was in, that whole trying to be fair, and because your children are involved with it. And I think so many people, so many times that I've seen, and this is just me watching different people,
hmm
they don't pay attention to the children because they're so involved in getting back at each other, getting back, trying
absolutely.
hurt the other person, or if it, some people do split amicably, but for those people who are trying to outdo the other when it comes to like holidays, when it comes to just the money situation, they
Mm-hmm.
it's totally about the children and how this may be affecting them because they're only focused on themselves. I appreciate you being a woman, a strong woman, and realizing that it wasn't just about you, but you had at the first time 4 girls to be considerate of,
Mm-hmm.
and realize that. And I've never heard you in front of them. Now, mind you, we women, let's just be real. Um, when you're talking with your girlfriends or when you're around the company of others, you may say a couple inappropriate things about that person because you can't stand their dirty draws
That
and
part.
bother with them. However, I commend you also about never, to my knowledge, disrespecting either one of your exes in front of your girls,
Mm-hmm.
to give them an opportunity to, whether if that person was bad or not, indifferent, didn't want to be bothered with them, to let them figure it out for themselves, as opposed to you planting negative
Correct.
seed in them. So since I said that all, and I give you kudos, um, come on, let's talk about the whole how you had to, especially after the first one with the first 4 girls, how you had to maneuver different things. Did they need counseling? Did you set them up for counseling? Or did you just kind of like be the mothering type? And how did you deal with if he was present or not present, and the times he decided he wanted to be present, or, just talk about that whole little.
Okay, so the first one, he was showing up real strong, and I'm gonna be mindful because I got my children on here now. Um, he showed up real strong during the year or so that we went through divorce. It was picking him up every other weekend and stuff, and um, because my opinion, he did things the wrong way. He lost his car. So when he lost his car, I started taking the girls an hour out, 45 minutes to an hour out to Indiana, because I was adamant about making sure that he saw his children. Because again, I don't have to like you, we ain't got to be together, but I want to make sure we eliminate excuses on you being a present father,
Shameless plug about your business. Go ahead.
period. And then on top of that, so he lost his, then there was an issue with the light bill and it was getting too high. I used income tax money to help pay money over $600 to to pay the light bill, because if the girl's coming out to the house, I need to make sure that they can see and they can eat and stuff. And so, and it got to the point where it was like, you know what? At this point, let me go ahead and take my hands off, because I have this thing where I'm always trying to make sure that you don't have a reason to not be able to show up for me or them, whatever, like you should. And so with that, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that he could have access to his children, only for that to bite me in the butt, because even to this day, we still got issues where folks thinking I didn't kept him from his children, even though he didn't open his mouth and said it publicly that I didn't. But that's neither here nor there. That's a trigger, so we're not going.
But we're gonna talk about triggers too. But
We'll talk.
let's get the record straight. It's the truth though. If that's your truth, you
It's
know,
it is the truth, and you know, a lot of times people are quick to talk about, well, that's my reality and that's yours. You know, we all there's 3 sides to every story.
not
Ninja,
always.
listen, there's the truth and there's a lie. You were not present for your own reasons, and that has nothing to do with me. And so with that, I tried to make sure that the kids were always there. But when it came down to it, he was not present. He after the divorce, it was final. It became, I was still trying to let me help you out. What? Don't worry about the money. Show up for your children. I had to pull receipts after recent conversations so that people, if I needed to present the evidence to him in a conversation, let me show you. You remember when I said, don't worry about the money, be there for your children. Don't worry about the money, be there for your children. Um, God is covering us on the finances. Be there for your children. And it still became an issue. So now it was just a matter of trying to, like, I'm continuously trying to help them navigate through what that looks like. Trying to keep my hands clean, because that was the biggest thing when it came to the divorce. I always try to keep my hands clean in every situation, because what I didn't want is to lose my daughters because I played a part in any negativity that came.
Okay. Good job. Like I said, I've never seen you speak bad, and it's. I think that you're gonna help some people today that may be struggling with that component of going through a divorce. And again, these conversations, just for me to say that my disclaimer, these conversations are not to advocate for divorce. Um, Sheila and I both are very strong advocates for the institution of marriage.
Yeah.
I know for a fact Sheila's a wife. Sometimes I question myself, but I believe I have wife tendencies. Um, and but because of so many things that I've been triggered by, it's very difficult for me to let some of my walls down. So some of these conversations, I did it for the people or to put myself and make myself more visible. However, a lot of these conversations are also helping me to reevaluate some things about myself. So, you know, if I never told the people who are on here thank you, I'm telling you, Sheila, thank you. And you are like the catalyst to say thank you to everybody else who's been on. But
Oh,
because
let me
this,
say,
go ahead.
yeah, when it comes to saying anything negative about whomever, um, I don't have to do that, right? I don't care what relationship, but we're talking about divorce, so marriage. I Because when you really don't care, when you've really shifted your focus, getting back, getting even, proving something to somebody else is not relevant. I had to shift all of my energy toward how I'm going to raise my five daughters by myself. Any additional energy put into anything else takes away from me building my brands and taking care of them. And if you weren't worth it to stay married, why would I have you worth it to waste all my energy and money and finances and resources and on dealing with telling people how bad of a person you are? That anybody got time for that? We gotta pay bills around here. I I can't.
See,
I, I have to show
like
up on live so I can get this brand out here. Anybody got time to be playing around trying to tell somebody how bad of a person you are? That's gonna show,
most
or
definitely.
not, because you may have grown. But that
But
again,
I have several people who, not several, quite a few people that are like you. Like, they decide they made the conscious decision. You either gonna show up or not show up. I'm not gonna badmouth you to your children, and I'm probably gonna catch the short and the stick many times because with you not being present, they're gonna blame me for you not being present because you're that type of ninja that will probably be behind my back saying it's your mama's fault because I'm not here. It's your mama's fault because I'm not here. So it makes me look bad. However, let God be God and let all your enemies scatter.
that
Because
part.
when it finally comes out, when these youngsters get old enough to actually see for themselves that you're a bald-faced lie, they're gonna have to come back, and even though they may not apologize, they're gonna have to acknowledge. And that's the thing that blesses me, especially like people that I know that has happened to, like just watching these kids become young adults or
Mm-hmm.
teenagers, and then realizing because they started making phone calls themselves where you don't have to communicate through the parent and you waiting for the call and it don't never come through, or you call and they not answering, or you calling and they say they're gonna do one thing and they don't do absolutely nothing, or they come up with an excuse to not show up. And so I just really feel like all of that is important. And I just want to encourage people that are doing the right thing. Keep doing what you're doing. And again, these lives are not to highlight divorce or make it seem like it's spectacular. I really want to break down the walls of divorce. I want to help people who have been through divorce realize that you're not damaged goods, that you can bounce back and live your best life after divorce, whether you want to
That
get
part.
married or not. And also to help people that are even contemplating getting married to know that it's work and you need to
That
put it
part.
before you say I do, and definitely after you say I do, but definitely before. We shouldn't go into any relationship, any like pivotal relationship without doing investigation, without having conversation, without seeing how it benefits us,
Yes.
to see what is going to happen in the midst of it. What's going to happen if A, B, or C happen. You have to put up scenarios and figure out, is this person really my ride or die? Is this person really the
Yep.
person that's going able to take care. And I'll tell anybody in a heartbeat, there are people out here now, don't get me wrong, who only come from a one parent home. But I promise you, if you see how that person treats their parents, then you'll know how they're going to possibly treat you. Not saying some people can be delivered from that part, because people come from broken homes and they could be the best fathers, mothers, or whatever have you. Don't mean they could be the best wives or husbands. However, but if you see how they treat their family members or definitely their parents, I think you'll know what you're dealing with, because if something adversity happens in your relationship, then you'll know how that person could possibly react. Go ahead.
Okay. Only thing with that is, in addition to that, so that's good. But if they don't have their parents,
That's what I'm
um,
saying. That's
so
a
so
problem too.
the other aspect, which it goes back to what we talked about before, was the communication piece. I'm in sort of a situationship where I'm having the conversation, like, what do you like? What is this? What will this look like? What is your view or take on this? And that goes back to the whole pre-dating, pre-engagement counsel. Being in the company of other people. So not just having one-on-one conversations, having conversations with other couples, other people that you love and admire, and see what it is that they're saying. Let them ask some questions. Hey, ask us a question. Let's see how we answer. I think that plays a bigger role to me, because there's a different kind of bond that comes with parents and siblings. And if you're just coming in, he may flip out on you and not flip out on them. So you ask those questions. What scenarios have you run into beforehand that was like, you know what? Hey, what would you do if I took the last Oreo? And then sit back, look.
So it depends on what time of the month it was. That part.
And it's like, but by having the conversation, you find that out. And
Right.
I think that a lot of times, and even as you're ever evolving, a lot of times, like you were talking about earlier, we don't think about what may happen 3, 5, 10 years from now. We just think, oh, we're gonna grow together, and we're gonna, but we never talk about those things that could really affect us. And although you can't
Difficult
necessarily,
conversation.
difficult conversation, period. But although you can't always necessarily say what you would do in a situation until you're actually in it, but there's been some things that I've asked him about, and I'm like, oh, oh, that's how you feel? Okay, write that down. Because it's important, and I didn't do that with either of my marriages. I just went along because I felt like I went to the leader, our pastor. At the time, it was two different pastors for both marriages. I went to them like we were supposed to do, present them to, hey, we're trying to get married, counsel us. And if one thing about me that's different from some of the people I've experienced is, if they had said shut it down, I would have shut it down. Ain't not now man that was worth me outside, because I honored the visionary, I honored my leader, my pastor, so they could have seen something that I didn't see. But both of them was like, no, go ahead, marry this bug, this June bug, okay? And so so I didn't think so. So any small insecurities or things that I thought I was picking up on beforehand, I didn't weigh in on them, because I figured, we all have those pre-wedding jitters. You don't. This is a whole nother human being that I gotta live with
And
my
learn.
that part. So it's like I ain't gonna like everything about nobody. Nobody will. But the fact that we actually did not have the difficult conversations is what I believe even led to the divorce.
You opened up a can of worms right now, because I want your. I was waiting and holding it here. Sip your tea, because this about to be good. Because I want the people to know. Because I already know how I feel. I ain't necessarily said I had no church hurt. However, I'm tired of church ninjas, and I think there are so many churches. They want the role and the title of pastor. However, and I understand when you become a bigger church, you need to have people in place, because you can't shepherd the entire flock.
Where
That's
you
why
going with
Jesus
this,
said,
Renee?
"Oh, girl, I'm getting there." So it's some of these pastors that I really feel do not assist people. when they're going through the process of
Oh,
divorce. Everything is pray, pray, it'll happen, pray. But actually giving you wise counsel or actually being that full support system. Um, because me personally, I didn't talk to anybody about my divorce. I talked to my spiritual mother because I was in between churches at the time, so I really can't say that I had a covering at that time. However, speaking with other friends, people who've gone through, people who've told me that they went to their pastors and their pastors kind of brushed them off and sent them to the sad shepherd, and the sad shepherd don't from a can of paint, and the sad shepherd is disrespectful in their answers, and they really don't have no wise counsel because their marriage is probably hanging on by a thread, so they really don't know what to say. Yeah, I'm going there. If y'all don't like it, y'all can get off my lap. It's gonna be perfectly okay because somebody else gonna be blessed by it after a while. So in the by and back. So anywho, Sheila, could you give me a little how you feel, a little conversation about ministry and divorce, and do we really do is the church really in the position, or are they in the position that they should be when we're talking about divorcing? Because here we go, before I let you answer that, the reason why I say that is because we talk about premarital counseling, and we talk about this, and we go through and we talk to the pastor about that, but who's doing post-marriage counseling? Who's doing divorce counseling? Who's helping the people to get through and not be hurt no more? Because we both know, standing on this side of divorce, we're better now. However, but during the actual process, it's a death. You have to go through a grieving process. Who's helping us spiritually? If we're part of a church, if we're part of ministry, if we believe in God, who's actually physically or spiritually helping us to get past the grief part? Because it's just like a death.
yes. So, I think the biggest issue I've encountered with church is that very few people walk us through the marriage. Um, we are found we get all this, even those who've gone through an extensive pre marital counseling, pre dating counsel, whatever it is. Once you get married, you're left. And so all of those things that you were that were brought up in the premarital counseling or whatever the case may be, there's no accountability after. And so because there's no accountability after, when it seems like things are starting to fall apart, then they want to come together and say, well, you just pray and you can do it. It's like, well, no, he just slept with 4 people in our bed, according to the cameras.
That part in my bed. Not, woo.
Or he didn't gamble away all our money, or he's always coming home drunk and unable to function, or he can't keep a job. Like all of these things, now you want to tell me to pray, and then I have yet to find a ministry that walks you through the grieving process of a divorce. Um, and the issue is, I think that the church is not really equipped, or are not allowing the people who have the wisdom, strategy, instruction, anointing to handle transition, are not in the right positions. And so, because divorce is not of God, um, we we don't feel, or they don't feel, I don't feel, they feel that there's a need to have a divorce anything, because we're not trying to, even though, like what you're saying with the platform, we're not magnifying, we're not trying to encourage divorce, but it happens in the body of Christ. And so who is actually, and so I transitioned from one marriage a year or so, a couple, maybe a year and a half later, and got married again. Although the marriage had fallen apart years before that, it was still not a good grieving process. I did not go through a process before I got into my second marriage. Um, and I remember Monique had told me I did good. See,
Very
she was
good.
like, listen, whatever comes with it, just know that, I mean, you walking into it. And I was sitting there and I didn't know what she meant at the time. I remember standing outside of my apartment complex on the phone with her, like, yeah, I got a new boo, and he's just so awesome. And he filled up my backseat with Valentine's Day stuff. she was like, okay, okay. She said, well, if this is what you want, just know there's going to be a process you're going to have to go through. And I'm like, listen, that's what happens with everybody, right? You got to go through a process with everybody. So I just think that the church needs to be, even people that are married, like the Bible talks about, it's like tearing away of flesh, right? It's a whole divorce is not as simple as going to court and saying, I'm no longer bothering myself with you. Like, I'm no longer like, divorce is death, like you said. And if we don't have an escape, if we don't have people that we can talk to, get counsel by, we're going to be screwed up and screw up the next life that we connect to.
And you said something good, and I'm thinking, I'm going over in my head, and I think sometimes, and I guess I shouldn't be so hard on the church per se, because again, there's a lot of people who are leadership roles who may not know necessarily how to deal with divorce because they haven't been divorced. So I'll give them a pass.
Exactly.
However, I also know there are several pastors that have divorced and remarried. And to my knowledge, me directly knowing, I only know of one that I'm affiliated with. And he actually started a ministry, that he welcomed people outside of his church too. That because he had been divorced and now he was remarried, he understood the process and he helped people, grieve or whatever have you. However, even if you don't know exactly what to do, say that. And then in
That
saying that, create something. Get some experts to come in, even if they don't belong to your church. Bring people in who've been with
absolutely.
divorce, dealt with it. Get a program together in your church. You want a program for the youth. You want a program for singles. You want a program for men, women, whatever. We need a space for us as well. Not saying that we're, again, glorifying it, but it's a part of life. It happened. Regardless
Absolutely.
of outcome is, the only real way that divorce is excused in the Bible technically is that of infidelity. However, I also know that my God doesn't want anybody to be abused in any shape, form, or fashion. So I think that that's another path too, even though it's not written. Like where you can actually find a Bible scripture about, other than the fact being where it says in John, he wants us to prosper as our soul does prosper. And I know my soul ain't supposed to be grieved and be a punching bag and all that other stuff. But I just really feel like the churches are dropping a ball, because especially nowadays, and the reason why I say that is we're in a whole nother generation, whereas, your parents, my parents, they've been married for 10 years. Good, bad, and different, they actually are sticking together whether they like each other or not. I mean, I can honestly say with my parents, I know my parents had love for each other, but towards their latter years, they were together because one, they ain't had nowhere else to go, and it really don't make no sense to go nowhere else. I mean,
That part.
you know what I'm saying? And then, you got to think about, I was having a conversation with somebody else, I can't remember when, but you got to think about it, first of all, it's changed because the world has changed, because now you pretty much rely on two income households to take care of something if you're going to do that, if you're going to have a family. So you need two income households. But back then, when my mother was able to be everything she was to me, because when her and my father married, it was her job to take care of the house. She got a part-time job to keep herself busy after I was of age to go to school. And then she was
Mm-hmm.
able to do everything with me. But before then, she relied on him to bring home the check to take care of the household. And when I talked to somebody else about it, and I think the guy said it when you and Mika were on the radio the other day, Grandma knew Grandpa went out to the bar on the weekend and did his business, but he was respectful enough not to bring that stuff home. He came home, took care of business, gave you the check, let you take care of the household, but he didn't let that stuff darken his doorstep. So even if she was a part of being disrespected, it wasn't at the house, and she let him go about his business. Why? Because he was taking care of home. We're at the point in this age of time because, one, we can do it ourselves and we really don't need no man. We want to be with a man, and vice versa. We're at that point, we're doing that. But that whole respect has gone out the door. I just had somebody call me today, and they found out that their husband cheated on them. And he comes back and says, well, you don't mentally stimulate me anymore. And I'm so tired of people gaslighting other people. If you don't want to do this, say you don't want to do this. Don't say it's because I don't do something for you anymore. Because it's a constant and considerate choice, and you make choices that you don't want to do something. Don't tell me because I don't mentally stimulate you anymore. You're not attracted to me. You don't do this. That's all garbage.
Go read a
And
book.
I feel, hello, somebody find something, find you a hobby, make you some paper airplanes, get you a train set, play video games like rest of these people doing nowadays. Do something. But that whole respect factor, the whole I could, like we said earlier when we talk about stick to itiveness and actually having conversations and just having an easy way out, or well, I don't have to stay here because I can do this better by myself, or I don't need you anymore because I could do my own, or I got my money. That's all that stuff right there. It plays a big part in today's society, and the church is not equipped like they should be to take care of those like us that are wounded after the fact. And it's a shame that, and I'm not saying I'm doing this, but anybody who listens who want to, I'll be more than happy to support you. We need to start societies or organizations or spiritually based outlets for people like us that need to help other people, because help strength comes in numbers. And sometimes people don't know what to do because they don't have anybody to talk to. They don't have nobody to go
Right.
over this with. So, yeah, I don't know. You could add some more to it if you want to.
But the importance also is not losing yourself no matter what. And if you're listening and you're married, or you're listening and you're contemplating getting married, or you're listening and you're about to get divorced, or whatever the case may be, find out who you are. What do you like to do? What is it that motivates you to be you, and continue to do that. Like, do not, that I think that was one of the things that kept me too through both marriages and both divorces, is that I continue to evolve and figure out what it is that Sheila wanted. What did I like? What did I do? And when both of them left, I still did. As a matter of fact, my both my brands were birthed when the other one left, the second one left, and I continued to do what life still went on. Now, should he had come back and we would have reconciled, then every decision I made was in consideration of if my husband came back. I didn't go and buy pink sheets when I got a new bed. There were certain things that I still did that made room for if there was reconciliation that was going to happen, but I still kept living. And I think a lot of times people lose themselves, whether it's in parenting or through relationships, they lose themselves. And so it makes it hard for them to even reach out for the help that we're saying that they need to get, because they don't even know where to start.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Okay, so we've been on for an hour now. Is there anything else you want to say? It was good conversation. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it so much. This is so much to me. Your transparency, being open and willing to come on with your good girlfriend. So, is there anything you want to say in closing? And then after you close and give your last remarks, please feel free to tell people how to find you on all your social media. And yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say, for those that have children, to keep your hands clean. If you've already said some things, done some things as related to the divorce, go back, and I'm not saying go back to them, the other person, but definitely go back to your children, apologize, let them know you were out of order, get yourself together, and then make sure that you focus yourself on the positive, focus yourself on the things that you all need to grow and become better, and do that. And then also find yourself. Listen, divorce is it happens, but in the process, don't lose yourself, so that you can make sure you come out better and not have to retract and go back and repent for things that you did that you should have done. um yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, eliminating excuses underscore the brand,
The brand.
as the brand, as well as execute with SMA. um and then Facebook is eliminating excuses. Did that? Okay. Facebook is eliminating excuses. Yeah. And if you want to call me at 312. No, I'm just playing. Uh,
Right. The whole line blowing up, and all the people that's gonna be on your inbox, all these nice men that's lurking on here, gonna see you later on the IG channel. Be like, hey,
listen,
sister, what's your number again?
because I'm unmarried. Praise the Lord. Amen.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You are amazing as always.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
live. You've given a lot of good nuggets. You all, please feel free to hit her or me in our inbox if you have any questions, something that we didn't discuss. I want to thank everybody for joining the live and those who are watching the replay, watching IGTV. I appreciate you all. Please like, share, comment. Give this to somebody who you know who may be going through either contemplating marriage, going through the process of divorce, already divorced. Definitely get this to people in the church so maybe they can start some programs because I think it's very well needed. Um, and for me, myself, you all know me, I'm Wire Renee. I'm trauma recovery coach. I would love for you all to support me September 18th. I will be speaking in the great city of Detroit, Michigan, and tickets are virtual and live if you want to come to Detroit. There's ticket links all over my Facebook page and also on my IG page. I will be posting again about it, but virtual. You can watch from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to leave, but I would love to see people in the audience in Detroit if you can make it. If not, I do understand, but please, 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 by all means, this is a huge platform for me, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. Also, this wonderful woman that's on this live with me right now, we are a part of the Level Up tour. And we will be in that part, and also Miss Nika Diamond, if she's still on here. We will be in Atlanta, Georgia on November 6th. Details to follow shortly as soon as we start promoting it. But I want you all to be aware. So we're coming to Atlanta. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, finish that
Okay.
part.
We're coming to Atlanta November 6th, come heck or high water. The only thing that's going to stop us, which we are definitely praying, is if the world shuts down again, which I'm hoping they do not. But if they do, that will be the only thing that's stopping us from coming to the great city of ATL. We are excited about coming. We are bringing fabulous speakers. I do have a couple people. Males are welcomed as well. This is not just an empowerment for women, it's an empowerment for everybody. But I have added a male to my platform, and he will be going live with me on the 22nd of August. So y'all need to come on back in and see what Mr. Pope is doing. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yes, those are the things that are going on with me right now. But Detroit is really big for me, and Level Up. Yes, ma'am, Miss Sheila.
I forgot to mention that I have, which is actually good for this platform, my event September 4th, Blended Families. So that's going to be in Chicago, in Oak Brook. So both the youth will have their own separate room as well as the adults. So we're going to talk all things blended families September 4th. So you can find that
How
on my
much?
page as well. $10 for adults, $5 for the children. And then I also have a virtual option. So $7 is the virtual, $3 for the children, I think, something like that. But it's on
Awesome.
Eventbrite.
Okay, so you all follow Miss Sheila, so you all can do that if you are in the Chicagoland area on September 4th. You
Yes.
say September 4th. Please, by all means, join Sheila. All of her events are very impactful, very powerful. You do leave with a better outlook on life, and you know she's going to help you eliminate any of the excuses of you trying to say
Thank
your
you.
family blended. How about that? Well, welcome, Sugar Daddy Tom. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us, and Chantel Branch. I appreciate you. Yes. And we are closing out this live. I want to thank you again, Sheila. This was
Thank
really, really
you.
put some stuff on my heart and my mind as well. Just like all these conversations that I'm having. So again, you all, if you are just coming on, please go back and watch it from the beginning. It's going to bless your whole life. Remember the children when you're going through all these processes, most definitely. I think that they suffer more than, I'm not saying that we don't suffer when we go through divorce, because again, it's like a death, but we seem to neglect children when it comes to these matters. And I think they suffer a lot more than anybody else. So please go back and watch the live. If you have not caught all of the other interviews, they are on my page. They are amazing as well. And I was supposed to have a guest from Sweden tomorrow night. However, because of the time difference, she now says that she can't be on at 2 o'clock in the morning, which I totally understand. So I was trying to figure out if I could move this up earlier during the day, but because I'm speaking at a retreat this weekend, that couldn't happen. So I'm not sure if I will be on tomorrow night or not. I might pop on for like a few minutes with just a little tidbit or something like that, unless I can find somebody else that wants to talk tomorrow, all things divorce. So again, thank you all for joining me. You all have a wonderful evening. Miss Sheila, I love you.
I love you
And
too, boo.
I'll see you soon, and we'll talk soon. And thanks again for blessing my life.
Thank you.
You all have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.